What's up, everybody? It's Nick Payne with the Facemask podcast. Doing another best ball. This is going to be the last one I do before the NFL draft. So, last best ball before I know where the rookies end up. So we're waiting on just a couple people here, just two more people before the room fills and the draft is underway. If you happen to catch the first one that I did of this, which few people seem to like, which I was happy to see. I appreciate that. I ended up with running backs with my first 3 picks, and I felt pretty good about that. So while I'm not going to force that strategy again, and of course, obviously, I need to see where I'm going to end up drafting. But if I can get at least 2 running backs with my first 3 picks, and the more I think about it, the more, as long as I don't force it, if I can do it with my first 2 picks, I have no problem doing that. If I find myself in a position where the best player is either Travis Kelce or George Kittle, I'll take that plunge. If I'm at the back of the second round, top of the third round, and Darren Waller's there, I would also take him. So basically, early on, I'm prioritizing either 2 running backs or a running back and one of the elite top-tier tight ends. Wide receiver is last on the totem pole as far as early best ball drafting, as far as what I'm interested in doing. But again, you have to let the draft come to you. You have to see how it plays out. No 2 drafts are the same. People are all going to come in with different philosophies and different game plans based on the pick that they have. So while I'm not ruling out wide receiver, it's just not my preference this early. There are so many good wide receivers, as we saw in the middle rounds. In the last one I did with this, I got Julio Jones in the 5th round. That's ridiculous value. A chance that I am absolutely 100% willing to take, given that last year was the first year in a couple of years that he had actually missed a legitimate amount of time. Seasons before that, I don't think he had an injury-prone tag. There was a bit of a problem with him scoring touchdowns, but touchdowns are a random statistic. Do you want to see a dominant wide receiver like Julio Jones scoring touchdowns? Of course. That's usually what comes with the dominance. Julio just so happened to string together a few seasons in a row of 130 catch, 1,500, 1,600 yard seasons, ridiculous catch and yardage totals. But he wasn't coming through in the touchdown department. 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. That was the knock against him, not his health. So to see a guy like that fall to the 5th round, the more I think about it, the more I would be willing to take Julio in the 4th. There are a lot of good young wide receivers littered throughout that part of that range of the draft, the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds. You're going to get good wide receivers there, which is why I'd rather get one of these elite running backs if I have one of the higher picks. But if I don't, if I'm in that 8, 9, even 10 range, I'm very likely looking past Devontae Adams, and I'll take Ezekiel Elliott. I'll take Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb at his ADP this year. I think he's a little too low at 12. I understand it's like, who are you going to put ahead of him? Or who are you replacing ahead of him, I should say. But I think some of the time that he missed in 2020 is baked into that low-end first-round ADP, but his points per game are awesome. He's worth it that high. But we'll see what happens. Still waiting on a couple people here. But these usually fill up relatively quick by the time it gets to this amount. Like once people see that the draft is nearly full, usually fills relatively quickly. taking a little extra time today. That's okay. The NFL draft is 24 hours away, less than from me doing this. So that's really exciting. So this is the last opportunity to kind of draft rookies blindly. Now, if you're doing best balls throughout the weekend, obviously there's going to be some guys in this best ball draft who are not going to get drafted until day 2, day 3. So you may not know their situations, but the top guys, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, of course, Kyle Pitts, of course, Jamar Chase. They're all getting drafted. Well, we'll see if both running backs get drafted. I would expect at least one of between Harris and Etienne gets drafted. And of course, Jamar Chase is going to go. Devontae Smith is going to go. Jalen Waddle is going to go. And Kyle Pitts is going to go. So we will know where some of these rookies are playing soon enough. Down to one more person, and then we are kicking this off. I tried to time it. I didn't start this till there were 3 people waiting to the fill. I figured, okay, let me wait until a comfortable amount of time, doubled with not too many people left to join the room. Just took a little while for these last couple stragglers to join us, but just need one more. Then we'll be off and running in this final Facemask podcast, best ball, before the NFL draft. I'm so excited. Just getting more involved in the fantasy football industry and getting more associated and affiliated with the social world of fantasy football. Seeing so many players analyzed for dynasty purposes and looking at their metrics, looking at what they did in college, looking at their size, looking at how big are they, how small are they, how fast are they. It's been a long time coming getting to this point. And, not that I don't want to sound like I'm not appreciative of all the analysis and all of the breakdowns. I feel like I know some of these players a little better than I otherwise would. But excited that the draft is upon us. The NFL draft is upon us. Get to see new guys on your favorite team, and for fantasy purposes, there's a lot of trickle-down effects. It's not just the skill position guys, Where are the best offensive linemen going to go? That's going to make on paper, in theory, or the goal is that's going to make their offenses more efficient. It's going to make them better. The quarterback is better protected. Running lanes are open. So, the offensive line is important. Obviously, the quarterbacks. Best ball is one quarterback. So, of course, some of the rookies are interesting. Of course, Trevor Lawrence is interesting. Of course, Justin Fields is interesting. Although Justin Fields' stock, for some reason, seems to be falling in the NFL draft. So, it's hard to remain bullish on Fields. As much as I believe in Fields as a prospect, and I do, I feel like I have to pump the brakes a little bit, at least for right now, at least, in this specific draft. Because if his stock is falling, it's like, okay, where is he going to end up? And is he going to be riding the bench a little longer than I may have anticipated when I was under the impression that the 49ers were trading up to the 3 pick to ultimately take him. And they still could. But according to all the rumors and by all accounts, that's not what's going to happen. So, but, things are smoke and mirrors. Teams put things out all the time that might not necessarily be true. So, but the confidence seems to be growing that the 49ers are not going to be drafting Justin Fields. They will be drafting Mac Jones. So if those reports are true, for me personally, that would be disappointing. I like Fields. I think he's a good prospect. I think he can thrive in the right system. I think Kyle Shanahan with that outside zone run scheme is a system that would suit Justin Fields, but by all accounts, they seem to think that Mac Jones is going to be the best available fit. So, time will tell. Okay, it looks like we are all filled here. Now, wow, I have the second pick. Okay. I'm up at the top of the draft. So, obviously, I'm going to go running back here. McCaffrey's going to go 1.1. I was a believer in Saquon last year. I was pushing Saquon as the number 1 overall pick last year, even after McCaffrey's phenomenal 2019. I was just worried about, the workload that McCaffrey was coming off of, and in part that came to be true. McCaffrey only played in 3 games. He was dominant in those 3 games, as he usually is, but he missed essentially the entire season. With some injuries, and I have to think maybe a little bit of that could be attributed to a massive 2019 workload. So I was pushing Saquon early. I mean, there's a reason for that. His talent is phenomenal. I think I prefer him over Dalvin Cook, and I think I'm just not going to think about this. I'm just going to take Saquon. I think he's a threat for 2,000 yards from scrimmage. I think the Giants' offense should be a lot better. If he can stay healthy, he's going to go back to his massive RB1 workload on a better offense that added Kenny Golladay in the offseason, that could see Daniel Jones take that 3rd-year leap. The jury's out if that'll happen, but the offense should be good. So I feel okay about that. So now, I don't pick again until the end of the 2nd round. An elite tight end could be there. I highly doubt Kittle lasts to me. But Waller certainly could. And depending on where Travis Kelce goes here, depending on where George Kittle goes here, Waller could make a lot of sense for me around the turn. But if a good running back falls, Travis Kelce has officially survived. His ADP's down to 8 now. Okay. That's because Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones came back up to where his ADP should be, which is in the top 10 after re-signing with Green Bay, and there he goes. Yeah. See, that's tough. Between Zeke and Travis Kelce, I think in best ball, I think I would actually go Kelce there. Wow. I would definitely go Kelce over Devontae Adams. So, oh my. Travis Kelce is officially falling. Somebody will happily take Kelce down here at the back end of the 1st round. I've regularly seen him go around the top 5 and always in the top 10. This is the first time I've seen him fall out of the top 10. Could be auto-drafted right here. I hope we don't have too many auto-drafters in here. This seems to be what is happening, and there we go. Okay. Don't like auto-drafting. It takes away from opportunities for others potentially, but nothing you can do about it. Nature of the beast. Chubb and Diggs. Yeah, I don't hate that start. Diggs is awesome. There's no doubt. You could argue either him or Tyreek Hill. It's just hard to get behind wide receivers this high when there are so many good ones later. Wow, I think that's a wide receiver start for that 2.4 spot. It is Adams and A.J. Brown, who are awesome, both in their own right. Both could be top 5 receivers this year. It's going to be slim pickings really fast at the running back spot by the time we get to that end of the 3rd round. So I'm having 5 picks. I feel like I could just miss out on all the pieces I'm truly interested here. I don't think I'm going to get George Kittle, especially if the person in front of me is auto-drafting. Or if he just goes right here. Oh, wow. Darren Waller over George Kittle. Okay, well, that's really interesting. So, I mean, I have my shot at either DeAndre Swift or George Kittle. I also like Miles Sanders. If he auto-drafts into DeAndre Swift here, and he certainly could. Oh, he auto-drafted into Kittle. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go DeAndre Swift here. I do have some shares of Miles Sanders already, and I do like who I do like, but Swift's ADP has fallen, and I think it's fallen a little too far. I really like his talent. Let's just go lock that in. Now we'll see what happens here at the turn, but if Miles Sanders is passed on, this is probably where I'm willing to take a wide receiver. Or I'm sorry, if he gets drafted, which he did. Calf. Yeah, see, like Justin Jefferson's ADP is so high, and I know he was dominant last year. I love Calvin Ridley, and sometimes it just comes down to like who do you want on your team, and I want Calvin Ridley on my team. That's what I want, and I have no problem with that. I started running back. I thought about J.K. Dobbins, who was great in his rookie year, averaged 6 yards a touch. But the Orlando Brown trade is a downgrade for the offensive line. I'll go with Ridley here in the third round, an offense that will be throwing the ball. I'm okay with it. It feels weird. It feels weird to have Ridley on your team when Julio Jones can be had a full round later, if not even later than that. But, you know, if you're a believer in talent, and I'm certainly a believer in Ridley's talent, sometimes you just take the plunge. Again, sometimes it just comes down to who do I want who do I want to root for? Who do I like to root for? Rookies, their ADP will likely climb. It makes sense to invest in them if you can. It's just at the top of the third round, there's some more established players there that I just feel a little bit more comfortable taking. Keenan Allen into the third round. I like him this year. Easy stack to create with Justin Herbert. Just go make sure you get him in the 6th round. He won't go before then. Terry at the end of the third round. Yeah, I think I would actually take Amari Cooper before Terry. As much as I love Terry McLaurin, Amari is getting Dak Prescott back, and Cooper continued to produce throughout the season last year, even without Dak. I think I would prefer Cooper. I think I would have drafted him higher. James Robinson falling to 312. That's good value. You're drafting him at his floor. A couple quarterbacks go pretty early. That's a good spot for Chris Carson. getting Chris Carson in the 4th round is great value. There's no doubt. Wow. It's pretty high for Dak Prescott. I know Dak could be the QB1, and he was on pace to do it prior to the injury. Unless, is it the same person who drafted Cooper? Yeah, okay. All right, so it went for the stack. You know what? If there's something that you like, secure it. Lock it in. Ignore ADP at the end of the day. So I'm 5 picks away. I'm in that same range of wide receivers. I do like Melvin Gordon. The Broncos could absolutely and are likely to add a running back in the draft. They only have Mike Boone backing Gordon up, and I have a hard time believing. Oh, well, there you go. I have a hard time believing Gordon is going to come away from this draft, with the same backfield mates that he had going into it. Man, well, there goes Allen Robinson. He should not have lasted that long. That's when my eyes started to get big. I just couldn't realistically expect that to happen. Josh Jacobs is falling. If he falls to the 5th round, then okay, maybe. But right now, I think I prefer another one of these options that have a ADP in this top 50 range. And now I don't have to make the decision, so that's fine. David Montgomery is interesting. I'm not a huge fan of Montgomery, but he is the starter. And yes, Tariq Cohen is going to be back this year, but he's coming off a torn ACL. We covered this on the Facemask podcast. The return rate for torn ACLs is not very strong, especially in the first year back. And there we go. Montgomery goes. Do I roll the dice? I already have Calvin Ridley. Let's go DJ Moore. Because with pretty terrible quarterback play last year, Moore was still a top 20 receiver for fantasy points per game. He remains the Panthers wide receiver 1. I'm good with that. For me, it comes down to, there goes Javonte, that's fine. So either Julio or Chris Godwin will be available to me. There goes Julio. See, this is a guy I'm willing to reach on. I love Deontay Johnson. I'm a big believer in his talent. This might be crazy because Chris Godwin is up there. But I'm going to go for my guy, Steelers wide receiver 1. I don't care that Juju signed back with them. I'm not worried about the drops. I am a firm believer in Deontay Johnson's talent. I'm doing it. I just, again, kind of like the Ridley pick. I decided to go get a guy that I wanted on my team. I like Deontay Johnson. I like rooting for him. I think he's a talented player. So I just went and got him. I love Godwin too. I mean, I like Godwin. I like Thielen. Woods is getting a quarterback upgrade, but it's now a different connection, so you have to be wary of that. I like Kenny Golladay, but it's a downgrade at quarterback. So, Ben Roethlisberger did play hurt a little bit last year, so that definitely did affect some of his late season swoon. And that's a common theme for Ben. He gets hurt, he misses time. But if he's healthy, if he can get it, coming into the season healthy, he's going to pepper his wide receiver 1 with targets, and I think that's Deontay. seeing guys, we're seeing Chris Godwin falls. Adam Thielen is falling. Here we go. There's Herbert. I don't think that was the Keenan Allen connection. No, it wasn't. Oh, he does have Eckler, so that is that counts. That certainly counts. There's the board. Maybe take a look at that later. So the higher end quarterback options are gone. Jalen Hurts is definitely interesting. I like Hurts this year for his rushing ability. Wonder if I can get him at a bit of a discount. After the Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni, didn't commit to Jalen Hurts in one of the first press conferences of the new year of the offseason. But to me, that means nothing. I'm not worried about that. And I certainly can assume that Jalen Hurts does not care about that. It doesn't matter. He's going to go win the job if he has to go win it, which I don't think that's actually true. A slew of receivers go. I like Mark Andrews. I like TJ Hawkinson. I'm worried about drafting a tight end this high when they're not one of the elite premier. Like, they're both upper echelon, but they're out of the top 3 as far as tight end, like players at the position. So I'd almost rather spend, at this point now with tight end, I'd rather wait as long as I can, get a couple of cheap options later. Maybe continue to attack wide receiver. Maybe go get my quarterback. Probably out on running back for a while. I say probably because while it's not a guarantee. I mean, getting Saquon and getting DeAndre Swift, that the strategy for me, I think, should now be, I drafted those guys to be my guys. So in theory here, I don't want to have to worry about an RB3 some weeks when the expectation, the way I need to operate here is that these guys are going to carry me. So I feel safe to continue attacking wide receiver if I have to. Man, there's a lot of doubling up that's coming up. I'm not crazy about. Person after me did draft Miles Sanders, so if I want a quarterback here, he could be looking to pair Jalen Hurts with Miles Sanders, which means if I want Hurts, and I think right now, given the list of options here, I think I do want Hurts. So I'm not going to mess around. Yeah. Not going to mess around. I'm going to take Hurts. I'm going to secure my quarterback. I have no problem doing that, especially when he's a runner. And I don't believe there's a job battle. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that to chance. The person who has the turn had Miles Sanders and would have been able to stack Hurts. So okay, Will Fuller is interesting. Juju's here. I already have Deontay Johnson. Robbie Anderson's here. I already have DJ Moore. Like, these are guys that I like. I like Curtis Samuel. I like Laviska Shenault. I like Hollywood Brown. Will Fuller's also just a talented receiver. Asking him to be my wide receiver 4, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Again, Fuller's a great guy for best ball because he's a little inconsistent. when he goes off, he goes off. He's a week winner, which makes him great for best ball, especially as a depth wide receiver, because I'm not relying on him. So when he has a good game, he's a week winner. If he doesn't, he's not in my starting lineup. I'm okay with this. Moving right along. This draft feels a little slower than the first time I did this. We got a couple of people, or we may have one or two people auto drafting, and we've got a couple people that take their sweet time with their decision making, which is fine. I respect the dedication to wanting to think through your decisions. It's not always obvious. Sometimes you need to look down your board. I'd be just fine picking up another wide receiver. Now, the Robert Tonyan, Logan Thomas area, this could be an interesting spot if I wanted to still get a guy who is kind of a consensus top 10 tight end going into the season. These guys are reasonably priced, right around 100 picks into the draft. So that's an option. You know, Dallas Goedert would be a stack for me. I think at this point his ADP might be a little high for me to expect. You know, he's 4th on the board in ADP. I'm 12 away. It's hard for me to be able to anticipate a guy like Goddard being there. That would be a stack. But Zach Ertz, for now, is still on the team. He could get traded. The general thinking seems to be that Ertz will not be an Eagle, but I think there had been some that expected that a move would have happened by now. So TBD on that scenario. There goes Goddard, so it doesn't matter. If one of these wide receivers makes it back to me, I'll throw Brandon Cooks in there as well. Just he'll be a wide receiver one. He'll be his team's wide receiver one, so he's interesting. Gallup is good. He'd be a wide receiver 2, if not better, on most teams. He just so happens to be tied to one of the deeper passing games in the league in Dallas. And then there's the tight ends. So I kind of have my idea of how I want to attack this spot. I feel like with the way this is falling, these guys are too high up at this point, likely, with me being 7 picks away. So realistically, I feel like I'm looking at either Gallup, one of these tight ends. Ronald Jones' ADP is falling. That's something to monitor for best ball, especially for a 0 RB strategy. I know that Leonard Fournette is back. I know the Buccaneers added Giovanni Bernard. Sweet Prince Keyshawn Vaughn is still there. But Jones is probably going to get first crack at early down duties. So to get him in the 8th round, that's pretty good. Ronald Jones, keep an eye on him. I don't think I would. I mean, it depends. Not crazy about him for best or for redraft, but keep an eye on him in best ball. Okay, so there goes Logan Thomas. The person who is drafting at the turn ahead of me already has a tight end. It's Hawkinson. So I can definitely, if I wanted to, if Noah Fant falls, now he's a little bit more interesting, and I'm the only one around me that could use a tight end. So Cooks. I'm kind of hoping this person takes Debo. Debo worries me a little bit. He's had injury issues dating back to college. Pretty much every year he's been in the NFL, and there he goes. Don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Michael Gallup here. Just take a good player attached to a good offense. Can't really go wrong with that. Good player, good quarterback, good offense in general. And I think I'll probably able to let one of these tight ends fall to me. So let's go ahead and do that. Some interesting names at running back down here. when you take running backs high, you're operating with the hope and expectation that they'll be your horses, and they're not often replaced in the lineup by guys like Tony Pollard or James Conner, Jeff Wilson. So there goes Noah Fant. Tunyon's down there attached to Rodgers. It's rare that the Packers draft a receiver. I like Fant. I like his talent. Should be a focal point in the offense. And he has fallen at this point, so I feel okay about it. That feels fine. That feels fine. Now, because now I've gotten my tight end one around pick 98, so almost 100 picks into the draft. Like, that feels like a decent gamble. I'll grab one or two more. Definitely one more. We'll see about two more. Although two more could be likely because I attacked wide receiver pretty hard. 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. Is it the 8th round? 6th round and 8th round. Yeah, because I took Jalen Hurts in the 7th round. Or no, I'm sorry. I took Hurts in the 6th round. Sorry about that. So attacked wide receiver in the 3rd round, the 4th round, the 5th round, the 7th round, and now the 9th round. So I did exactly what I wanted to do. Establish running back early, first 2 picks, and then just hammer wide receiver. Like, any one of these guys can be a wide receiver 1 on any given week. Yeah, this is shaping up nicely. Like, I love Devontae Adams. I love Tyreek Hill. I love Stephon Diggs. You're going to keep hearing me say this each time I do one of these. But I was able to, I can ignore those guys. Now, I had the 2nd pick at this point, so Devontae Adams wasn't an option. But even in that 10, 11, 12 hole, give me Ezekiel Elliott, give me Nick Chubb, give me Cam Akers, and I'll still end up with a collection of receivers not too off from this. Maybe I don't get Calvin Ridley, but replace that with a Keenan Allen, or Allen Robinson fell this draft. So, like, replace that with Ridley, replace Ridley with one of those 2 names. I still likely come away with these guys as long as I want them. And then you get a guy who should be should be a favorite to finish as a tight end 1. Okay with this. Slew of depth running backs went. I'm going to try not to overreact about that too much, but of course I do need a running back 3 eventually. Zach Moss is an interesting name. I'm still holding out hope that the Bills will not invest in running back this draft. Quarterback options. Michael Carter could be interesting depending on landing spot. I do like Alexander Madison as a best ball guy. Just simply because Madison, Dalvin Cook misses a lot of time. And Madison usually gets most of his workload when he's entrenched as the starter. It's not a committee situation if Cook has to miss a game. Like, Madison fills the Cook role. So in best ball at his price, that's a running back I like at cost. Zach Moss is interesting here. Person ahead of me has already drafted 4 running backs, so I don't have a Viking, so there's no stack with Kirk Cousins. I don't know if I want to take another tight end here. I will say I like wide receivers attached to good offenses. So I'm going to take a presumptive starter on a good team with one of the better passing offenses in the NFL. I like Gabe Davis at his ADP this year. I think he's going to start outside for the Bills. And I think the Bills are going to continue to have success throwing the ball. I like Rashad Bateman. I do. Davis, I like him a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, I feel comfortable taking an RB3 here and taking a chance in Zach Moss. I think Moss is the better prospect than Devin Singletary. I think even if the Bills add to their backfield, I think Moss is looking at, a good role for this team. So let's go ahead and grab an RB3, get a little bit of depth there. And if anything happens to Singletary, Moss will get full-time duties for whatever that is worth in the Bills' offense. Obviously, Josh Allen also acts as a pseudo running back for that team. So there's a lot of vulturing happening. But again, I don't have to predict the week Moss falls into the end zone twice. But when it happens, he'll be one of my starting running backs, and I'll take it. Made it to the double-digit rounds. 7 rounds left. I know this isn't for everybody, but I appreciate it if you've stopped by. Do I have any other? I think the only guy that is the holdover from the last time I did this was Gabe Davis. Otherwise, this is an entirely different team. But that's the fun of doing these. I'll do a ton. I don't even want to disclose the number of best balls that I do during an off season, but the best thing about doing them is, outside of your the matchups you care most about, with your friends in your home leagues and all that stuff, you can root for everybody. If you do enough of these drafts, you're going to end up with shares of a lot of different players. You might intentionally be avoiding certain players, but maybe if there's a player you love, you'll get a ton of that player, and if it does well, that's a benefit to a ton of your teams. Or you play the game, you play it, let the chips fall where they may, and adjust accordingly. There's multiple ways to win. There's multiple lineups that can win. It's about picking the right pieces. Like Nyheim Hines is a running back down in this range who I would normally love, but I'm passing this year because Carson Wentz is not an efficient quarterback checking it down to the running back. I think Nyheim Hines I love the player, but I think he's smoke and mirrors this year. I just don't think he's going to be as effective as he was with Phillip Rivers, who was a check down king. That's not part of Wentz's game. It's too inaccurate there. Just looking down my list. A quarterback 2 makes a lot of sense. I don't want to get too deep into this, but the more I think about it, the more I think Deshaun Watson is going to play. For better or worse, whether you agree or disagree, I think Watson is going to end up. It's a terrible situation right now. Right now, today. It looks bad. It looks horrible. But these processes usually play out. It's still possible that that he plays. It's possible that Deshaun Watson plays week 1. So at this point in the draft, it could be worth the risk. Obviously, you may need to draft a QB3 to protect against that. But to be able to get him 130, 140, maybe even 150 picks into the draft, that's a decent risk. That's a decent risk worth taking. Now, you may feel a certain way about him. You're not going to hear anything from me about whether you want him on your team or not. But strictly, purely from the upside that he provides, and with the ADP that felt like Tyreek Hill last year, I saw him get drafted in the 14th round after he was dealing with his off-the-field issues, and he ended up playing a full season. So It's usually, it's usually the worst. It's usually really bad before it gets better. And obviously the legal process has to play out, and we fully respect that, but Watson could be a decent investment here because it's not going to cost anything. I don't think I've drafted Deshaun yet. I don't always advocate for this, but sometimes you need to swing for the fences. I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him, and we'll see what happens. We'll let the legal process play out, and we'll see what happens. I mean, 144, 143 picks into the draft. Like, okay. See, that Fields pick tells me that it's possible Watson was gone before, like, if I didn't take him. So this was around the range where it made sense to grab him. And I can still grab a QB3 late if I want to. I do like Gerald Everett down here. Oh, well, there he goes. That's the end of that. Like, Ebron's still available. Ferkser. There are some tight ends that I can grab later. I think what I'm going to do is take the guy I was touting a little earlier and lock in a little bit of depth at running back, and a guy who, if he gets the opportunity to play, will get an RB1 workload. I feel okay about that. Moving right along, Evan Ingram has absolutely plummeted. It's not a guy I'm going to be advocating for. Starting to see some of the rookies go. I never know if I should convince myself to try to get behind some of the rookies. It's tough when you have established players on the board who you like, or who you feel good about their, at the very least you feel good about their opportunity in the offense that they're going to be in, and you've seen them before. Not to say not to take rookies, and I have taken rookies. Just, I would say I'm probably someone who does so less frequently. Moving right along. Darrell Henderson's a guy I like at his ADP. Another depth of running back. Obviously, Cam Akers is looking at an RB1 workload for the Rams, but it wasn't too long ago that Henderson was a third-round pick for them, and by all accounts, they like his talent. He's interesting down here. I do need a tight end. Eric Ebron is interesting down here if he can get to me. I have 6 receivers at this point. I am going to draft one more, but I'm probably going to cap it at 7 so that I can fill out the roster a little bit, especially maybe get a third quarterback. But you can do that when you attack hard, the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, 7th round. You can afford to fill out the roster elsewhere because you're expecting some pretty strong depth here at wide receiver. A wide receiver 1, a couple wide receiver 2 performances any given week. If not better. Seeing some tight ends go. There goes Henderson. It's a good spot for him. If I can get Ebron, I will do that. There's one person ahead of me who only has 1 tight end. Hopefully they're targeting not Eric Ebron. The numbers aren't spectacular, but, if you score over 100 points at the tight end position, and he is a threat to catch touchdowns. This will be the pick coming up here. Got one quarterback. That's a good one in Kyler. And he's got one tight end. Oh, he's got Waller. Oh, well, okay. Hurst is gone. He has Waller, so he could pass on tight end here. And he does. He takes Penny. Okay. Now I just need to survive right here, whatever this person does, and I can secure my tight end too at a spot that I'm very comfortable getting Eric Ebron at. And I get him. I'm just not gonna think about this. Strong tight end 2. You need a couple tight ends. You need at least 2. I'm probably gonna get 3. And he's a touchdown grab. Do I take Roethlisberger because I have Deontay and now I have Ebron and I can do a little double stack here? I think I'm gonna do just that. If I can get Roethlisberger here, I'm going to do that for the simple fact that, not that I love Roethlisberger, but his ADP is dirt cheap, 15th round. And I have 2 of his weapons. I have Deontay. Yep. I have Deontay Johnson and I have Ebron, and I can protect a little bit against that risk by taking Deshaun Watson. There you go. I feel okay with that. I feel like I've said that a couple of times. I'm constantly talking myself into, I made the right decision. What you should do. You should feel good about your decisions. Never second guess yourself. We're all winners here. Well, hopefully not these other 11 guys. Thank you again if you've stuck with me this long. This one's been a little bit slower, but we're coming up on the end here. About 4 rounds to go. Now we're just filling it out with flyers. A win and a prayer. With my last 3 picks, I'm likely to get some balance. I'm not afraid of the possibility of walking away with just 4 running backs. However, Saquon was a little bit of an injury risk, and Madison on the weeks that Cook is healthy is gonna be pretty much a 0. So might look to get one more running back if there's one that makes sense. But I'm not gonna push it just for the sake of doing it. The idea here is Saquon's going to be an RB1. DeAndre Swift is going to be a top 15, if not better, running back. That's what their ADPs are dictating. That's why you draft them where you draft them. So another wide receiver for sure. I'm thinking another tight end is very, very likely. O.J. Howard, Donald Parham. I have no problem with either one of those guys. Ferkser, I'm not going to hold my breath on at this point. He's high up on the board. See, there's still some interesting wide receivers here. I like Allen Lazard this year. I'm at the point now where I don't believe the Packers will ever draft a wide receiver. That's obviously a fabrication a little bit. But they constantly feel like a team that feels good and content with their roster, almost as if they know something we don't. Spoiler. But I like Lazard. If I can get Lazard, I'm hoping a little bit here. About 7 picks down, I'm 8 picks away, so I would need a couple guys to fall. Some people like Brian Edwards this year. Apparently, so does that person. Just took him. Yeah, I would like with what is left. Some people like Jacoby Myers, but he may have some targets taken away now with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry there. Yeah, I think the guy I'm hoping for at this point is Lazard. That I'll feel good about. That'll be my wide receivers, and that'll feel like a good cast. Probably a tight end there. I'm not, I don't have a problem coming down this far to go get O.J. Howard or Donald Parham in the 17th round. I'm ideally getting Lazard. Okay. And this person only has 5 receivers, so it's possible Lazard goes. He does. Ugh. Okay. Hmm. Not crazy about this. Not crazy about this decision that I have to make. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take O.J. Howard. Go back to that well. He was on his way to it was finally happening. It was finally coming together last year, and then he got injured. He's an injury risk, but he's a tight end 3, dirt cheap. He can put it together. He's younger. He's more athletic at this point than Gronkowski is. Tom Brady was going to him in the beginning of the season. I would like to walk away with a wide receiver here. Guess Jacoby Myers could be the play. It's just, they signed Nelson Aguilar. They signed Kendrick Bourne. Do I take a shot on Van Jefferson, who could have some targets open up for him? Yeah, let's mix things up a little bit. Let's mix the shares up a little bit here. Josh Reynolds is gone. Robert Woods is there, obviously. Cooper Kupp is still there, obviously, but this is a high-octane offense. This is a respectable offense in Los Angeles, and Van Jefferson seemingly steps into the wide receiver 3 role here for them. Worth the risk this late, I think. So I got one more pick here to make. It could be a running back. Guys are not super enticing. Tevin Coleman, maybe. Marlon Mack, maybe. This could be a total swing and see what happens type of situation. 15 picks away. This is wrapping up. Again, thank you guys so much if you stuck with me this long. Hopefully this was fun and informative. I feel like this might have been a little bit more laid back. I don't want to say sluggish, but a little slower than the first one I did. But these are always fun to do. I love being able to share my insight, how I'm thinking, and hopefully give you guys an opportunity to apply some of these strategies. Maybe at the end of the day, all I want to do is hopefully get you thinking a certain way that you're like, oh, I didn't think about that before, but I like that. If I did that for just one person, that's all I care about. And who knows? Maybe our strategies will work out and we'll come away in first place. That's the goal, right? That's the plan. Go into every season, every league, whatever it is. Redraft, best ball, keeper, dynasty. Whatever the scoring settings are, it doesn't matter. It's all about how can I be the last one standing. I mean, if Traquan Smith continues to fall, I mean, he could. Oh no, I just I just backed out of the draft. Sorry about that. I scrolled to the left a little too hard. That's okay. I'm on my desktop. Scroll to the right. Right back in. 8 picks away. I'm not going to draft another quarterback. I'm not going to draft another tight end. I have 3 of each. That's pretty much the limit. That's as far as I'm willing to go. I mean, Devontae Booker is the handcuff to Saquon, but I hate drafting handcuffs. I hate drafting handcuffs in best ball. It caps your opportunity for truly being able to create an optimal lineup. So assuming your starter is healthy, which is how you want to operate again, then you don't want to rely on the handcuff. So, I'm genuinely not sure what I'm going to do here at this pick. Marlon Mack's interesting. He's coming off a torn ACL. Ramondre Stevenson, I don't know much about him, but could find a role somewhere. Tevin Coleman. I mean, before last year, he had been producing. It's just he's the type of guy where like time could have run out at this point. Oh, is this behind? This is odd. Did it just draft Tevin Coleman for me? I hope not. I was going to take a flyer on Marlon Mack. It's not my turn to pick. Oh, I guess things it may have crapped out when I accidentally joined or rejoined. So I think it just made a pick for me. That's okay. I ended up with an RB5. I think I would have ended up taking someone like Marlon Mack anyway. So I was interested in that 5th running back. It just so happened to be Coleman. So that's okay. That's that final draft before the NFL draft. I'm so excited it's here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'll obviously be returning with some post-NFL draft strategy once we see where the rookies go. So until then, enjoy the NFL draft, and thanks for tuning in.